story starts in May of last year. We found out we were pregnant, and then in June we found out we were pregnant with twins. With twins, you have to have like special care. We were following some specialists, and at our very first appointment with a specialist, we found out that our twin daughters, they were identical twins, they had a disorder called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome. The short version of that is that one of the twins was accidentally giving all of her blood to the other twin. The twin who was the donor, her name was Eliza. She was really small. She wasn't growing the way that she was supposed to. She was incredibly compromised. But with that being said, the other twin, who was Alexandra, she also was compromised because if you get too much blood flow, then you also have problems. Our world kind of stopped. August 8th was when we got that news. I was put on bed rest, and we were just absolutely inundated with doctor's appointments. I was seeing a specialist probably 3 times a week. So we did that for it was just a little over a month. And then September 13th, basically this has culminated to a point where if we don't surgically intervene, then you will for sure lose both of your daughters. So what they had to do is they basically go in and they have to cauterize with laser surgery some blood vessels that have grown between the twins. We had surgery on September 16th. And the surgery went great. It was like better than expected. Your daughters are looking great. This seems like it's going really well. And then the next morning before we discharged to home, we had to have a follow-up appointment to just kind of see, are they still okay? Is everything still looking as good as what we saw yesterday? We went into the ultrasound. They did the scans of the first daughter first. Everything looked great. And then the nurse technician looked at us and she said, "I'm so sorry. There's no heartbeat for your other daughter." And so we had lost Eliza throughout the night. So obviously that is a cascade of emotions that is just unbelievably hard to process and work through. In the shock of that, we were still having to go to appointments all the time. 2 days later, I was back at another appointment, and they found out that my body was trying to go into preterm labor, but I was extremely early. I was only 22 weeks pregnant. So they decided to do another surgery that kind of can help prevent preterm labor. The next Tuesday, so exactly 1 week after we had lost Eliza, I was going for another doctor's appointment, a follow-up from the surgery down at University of Michigan. And thank God my mom came with me. I was gonna take myself, but she was like, "I feel like I should go." And so she came, which was good. About halfway between Grand Rapids and Ann Arbor, I went into labor. Almost on like a flip of a switch, I was like actively in labor, and not just like a few contractions. It was like every 3 minutes, it's go time. So we come screaming into the University of Michigan emergency room, get rushed upstairs to their triage. Their initial goal was, we want to stop labor. Way too early. I was 23 weeks pregnant. They were giving me medication to try and slow down contractions, all of that kind of stuff. Part of the surgery that they did to keep me from going into labor, they had to remove a device, some stitches that kind of hold things in place. And when they went in to remove those stitches, they found out that they were incredibly infected. My whole uterus was infected. The baby was compromised. And so basically my body was trying to eject Alexandra and Eliza. So they said, "We're so sorry. Our hand is absolutely forced. We have to take the baby out because if we don't, you will get a severe bloodstream infection and you will also for sure lose your surviving daughter." So, okay, we have to do this at 23 weeks. Here we go. Meanwhile, my husband is 3 hours away at work because this was supposed to be like a run-of-the-mill appointment. And so he's trying to get there super fast. He walked in just before our daughter was born. They do the C-section. They show us Alexandra. I mean, she was, I'm not exaggerating, about that big. She was 1 pound, 5 ounces, and she could literally fit in my hand with just a little bit of overhang. And then she was whisked off. They also delivered Eliza, and so we were able to spend time and hold her and kind of say our goodbyes. And it was really beautiful to be able to see her and just have those moments. At that time with her was really special. I finally get back to my room. Things finally start settling down. And now we're kind of in it for the long haul. The doctors are telling us all this information over the next few days of what to expect, chances of survival. I mean, right off the get-go, she had a bloodstream infection, which is really catastrophic for a baby. She had a pretty large bleed inside of her head that is also catastrophic. Walking through those first weeks was pretty intense. And not to mention, I had delivered her at University of Michigan, and she was not stable enough to transfer to Grand Rapids. I was stuck on the other side of the state. My husband still had to work, and my son was here. So we were kind of, for a month, separated as a family unit. To go through such an intense trauma to another intense trauma to now being separated and trying to just wade through that murk, that was really rough. So we were at University of Michigan for a month. After a month, she was stable enough, big enough that it was safe for her to transfer, and we transferred to Helen DeVos, and then we were there for 3 months. Just a little over a month ago, she came home on January 23rd. So that has been exciting and great, but it's also been challenging because we still have a significant amount of doctor appointments. We go probably, it's been about 5 to 7 appointments a week between different types of therapy and all the different specialists that we have to see to kind of follow up on the surgeries and stuff. But it's starting to slow down a little bit, but it's definitely been difficult to feel like we've even had a chance to just process everything that's happened, because it's been such a survival mode for a while. Our support system, there's just never going to be enough words to repay just the beauty of what those people have given us. So we have lots of family, which is great. And our church community here at City Church has been just outstanding. People literally like crawling out of the woodwork. And I mean, the thanks that we owe to people is just incredible. We've been truly blessed with a number of people who have been here just rooting us on and kind of in the trenches with us. We were kind of thrust into the valley of the shadow of death, and when you're there, it seems like all the lights have been turned out. And man, wouldn't Satan just love it if you could just stay there and think that there's all hope is lost and that God gave up on you and that there is no good and he's not good and this is just your life now, this valley of the shadow of death. But the thing that struck me the most is that all of these circumstances that we go to, they're all just shadows. But a shadow has no power, because it really is just, it's a reminder that there is light present, that there is still a good and loving God who is so faithful and has so much purpose for everything that's happened, even through losing Eliza. The sweet things that God has showed us as a family, and then, you know, even people in our community who know our story. It's humbling, it's overwhelming to think that God would even give you this gift, which feels weird to say because you lost a child, but like it's been the most unexpected gift through the hurt and the pain, and people walking through that valley of shadow with you, reminding you like, no, it's just a shadow. God is still good. We're right there with you. Those people make the difference. Way back at the beginning on that August 8th day when I was driving home through unreal tears, I remember one, begging God, like, at all costs, please just do whatever you can to keep our girls. But the very next thing was, I also want, at whatever cost, to give you glory, and whatever is going to make your name most famous, whatever is going to make people see the most that you're still good and faithful no matter what, I want that. And even if that means we don't have either daughter, I still want that. It's a hard thing to pray, because God can deliver on that prayer sometimes. Ultimately, to see God's name get so much glory through this has been beautiful. And I hope he continues to get so much more through their story. My name is BrookeAnne, and this is Eliza and Alexandra's story.